Does the choreography heighten the conflict, which is a strike, no? This theme of exploitation, does it clarify the conflict? No? That's the first question. The second question is, I'd like to ask the gang of three, si Santi, si Robbie, and Joe. What do you think about what an actress once we all admire? JB Rata. I hope she was quoted correctly. What do you think about the quote? The quote from her was that musicals just entertain, they don't make people think. Thank you.
Musicals just entertain, they don't make people think. Did I say that right? Yes. Okay, to answer the first question about being 95% musical?
Yeah, Sir Manis. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Sir Manis.
To answer your question, why is it 95% dance? It's not so much what you're going to see is all dancing 95% all the time. What I meant when I say it's 95% of the show is because dance is the form that the creators, the writers, and composer chose to express the emotions of the characters. There are many ways to express how you feel. You can write about it, you can shoot a picture, you can shoot a film, or you can write a musical or write a storybook. In terms of musical, there's so many ways, right? You can just make it a bit operatic or a light operetta-ic, and just concentrate on the singing. And most often than not, musicals do that. They let the songs carry the emotions and bring the story forward. Why is it the focal point for Newsies to use dance? I don't know what the answers of the creators will be, but I'm guessing the reason they chose dance, number one, this was first created in early 90s. 92 was the film, which, as mentioned, was a flop. And I think it became a flop because they wanted to do a dance movie, but they hadn't really fleshed out at that time how dance can push stories forward. Fast forward to 2011, when they finally figured it out, they put it on Broadway and won all these awards. We're just taking it from that. Obviously, if you do Newsies and not do it as a dance musical, just concentrate on the singing and the acting, it's going to be very, very flat. You need to see how these guys, there's another thing unique about the show, and I haven't really discussed this with my partners. For me, the Newsies, who is the title of the show, should have the last bow. And you'll see why. They will have worked the hardest. It doesn't diminish the talent of the leads, not at all. But in terms of storytelling, in terms of retelling the struggle of the Newsies back in 1899, rather than just showing them with placards and marching on the street, artistically, dance would have been the best way to showcase that and to express those emotions. Of course, they're still going to sing, and the singing will push them to move. As a matter of fact, there's no instance where they just dance. They're still singing, and then it climaxes to dancing and all that. That's how the show was written, and I think it's brilliant because now, if you had just stuck to it, you would have been better off with a straight movie without music. Because the struggle was so physical. The struggle was so internal, especially if you consider that these were kids at the time. The real Newsies were 13, 9 to like 14 or maybe at most 19 years old. So the struggle was so internal that the only way to really bring that out is to flesh it out through dance. and I think it's a brilliant choice. It obviously worked on Broadway when they finally did it, and I'd like to think it's going to work in our production as well.
Actually, that's a brilliant question. Because if Disney was here, and they've made this very clear, it is not a dance musical. In fact, they even said don't promote it as a dance musical, because the historical significance of what happened at the turn of the century was, remember, the news was delivered by the papers. There wasn't anything like the way news is delivered today. Not, right? And it was really about the first movement of child labor laws, right? And you'll see when you see the show how these boys were taken advantage of by one of the most powerful men in the world, Pulitzer, right? This was the first attempt to unionize and strike against the power of the big press. That's what this show's about, right? Now, why dance, in my opinion, is because when you see this show, the energy of this show is so high from the beginning to the end that you get sucked into the entertainment value of the show, to your second question, right? But the intent is not to leave saying, oh, that was a great dance show. The intent is when you leave, you're educated on something that's really powerful that most people do not know about. That was our interest in this thing. I mean, being part of a telecommunication company with digital media is instant. You say something and it's across the world. If it's picked up, a lot of people see it. Imagine then, it's these boys. They don't deliver it, they don't make money, right? So I'm not going to give you the twist of the story. You have to come see it. But I think, to your point, this is not about entertainment, right? It is very entertaining, but the best entertainment in the world is something that changes you from within. It's a rush that you get when you see it. That's why you remember that moment. So we hope to give you a lot of those moments with Newsies. So that would be my answer, is entertainment should not be just for the sake of entertainment. It should move you. Now, it will move people differently, right? There'll be young boys that will come see this and get inspired and maybe want to be a dancer, right? There'll be some boys that will see it and be inspired to want to be a singer, right? It's all there. But it's a very inspirational family show. So spread the love, tell everyone about Newsies tomorrow. Show.
Okay, and to answer the... Yes, go ahead.
I'd just like to add, I think there's an excitement to having a dance musical in the Philippines because it's really difficult as a choreographer and as a director to cast a show that requires high technical dance. And that was our dilemma with the producers from the get-go, how to cast for the show. And I think that's why we're so excited to present something that involves dance. I mean, the whole show is not dancing from zero to end. There is dancing, there will be singing, there will be book scenes, but the dancing is driven by the emotion. And when they peak with the emotion, that's when the dancing happens. And we're hoping that you share in that joy, that we finally are able to cast a group of individuals from varied disciplines in a show here in the Philippines. And that's the hardest nowadays, to find talent like this. Because most of us go abroad. I was there, I went abroad. People went abroad because there are no shows like this for us. So I think there's an excitement from the creative team, even from the cast, and even from the audience, to see something of this caliber here in the Philippines, which is why I think we're marketing something as a dance musical, because we want to change the landscape as well of Philippine theater. Yes, we can do dance musicals in the Philippines.
Thank you so much, PJ. And to answer the second question, saying that musicals...
Is this by, are you talking
So, can we hand over the mic, please? Musicals are only for entertainment. It does
And
not
they don't
make people think.
That's
So I think...
That's the opinion of, I hope she was quoted correctly, no? Of Joy Virata.
Joy Virata.
Ironically,
Yeah.
directs
Who is-
children's musicals.
And
Okay.
who is also a theater actor. So I guess the best person to...
Well, no, I'll answer that also.
Okay.
But I think
Robbie could answer it afterwards as well. Musicals are only for entertainment. It does not make people think.
Well, I myself am surprised. But
We're not sure if she was quoted correctly.
Well, definitely, musicals in the entertainment part, absolutely it entertains you. But for something to be said that it doesn't make you think, then maybe not really. You know, probably because maybe the emphasis when you watch a musical is because you know, you see the dancing, you see the singing, and it's just an attention grabber. But there is of course the story behind each great musical. For example, like Les Mis, or even Phantom, or even Miss Saigon, which actually moves you, just like what Joe says. But of course, the great singing kasi sometimes overpowers, you know, I mean, that's what you recognize or is emphasized. But then again, there are a lot of good musicals that actually make you think as well. And one of them actually is Newsies, is what Joe mentioned about. It's actually history. You know, it's history, and at the time that those newspaper boys had to go up against a big publisher, a big giant, and that was actually that is actually being narrated right now. And perhaps before Newsies, no one actually knew about it. So, well, you know, so I'm not sure if Tita Joy said that, but you know,
But she's wrong. But she's wrong.
for me she's wrong. Yeah, for me she's wrong because if she said it, yeah.
No, but you guys made a play recently, Ticket Boom. And I went home thinking, I don't know what...
So we did make you think.
Yeah. So maybe I'm just like...
Me personally, I would disagree with the fact that it's just there for entertainment purposes. It should make you think. And actually, for us to even just make it that level of entertaining requires a lot of thinking alone on our side already. Sure, it has to be entertaining to grab the attention for 1 hour, 2 hours. But if you don't leave a changed person, something is wrong. It depends on the show. It also depends on the kind of entertainment you follow, I guess. Iba-iba yan eh. I mean, some people are happy watching noontime shows. Some people are happy watching plays. Some people don't like musicals, they just like straight plays. Iba-iba naman yun. But me, personally, you know, I watched Liza Minnelli live, I watched Barbara Streisand live, and just watching them makes you think. And all they do is, I mean, technically all they did was sing, but the way they sing and the way they convey the message of each song makes you think about the lyric, and wow, that was, especially when they sing songs from Sondheim, and here I go again, just going around and around. What I mean is, I disagree if she said that. I don't think she said that. I can't imagine somebody who built children's theater would even think that, because I know personally, because I've known Tita Joy for almost 30 years. and for somebody who really fought to build children's theater, her first goal is to educate the young ones so that when they grow up, all they'll want to do is watch theater. And that's not going to happen if all you're going to do is make them laugh and smile all the time. You got to make them think. You got to make them learn. You got to make them grow. Then they come back.
Okay, thank you so much, Robin. I hope that answered your question, Sir Amadis. Moving on to our next question. Yes. Volunteer na naman si Jude. Jude, do you have a question? You can pass over the mic over there. And then afterwards,
And then
Jill.
yeah.
And then afterwards, Jill muna. Jill from Enquirer. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Hello. Okay. This will be. So you're gonna hold this at the Globe.
Yes, the same venue as
Same
Christmas
venue.
Carol and American Idiot.
And as Joe mentioned, you know, you get to sell tickets, but it's technically gonna be open to everyone else, right?
Yes.
Okay. Considering that this is a play based on a historical event in American history, how do you think will it appeal to the Filipino audience, or how will the Filipino audience connect to this? This is a question that is open to the creative team and to the cast.
Who would like to answer?
Yes. Jim, everybody's volunteering. Can you?
Jim.
Ayan na, gawin mo na yung master's, degree mo. Bilis.
What's the question?
Not paying attention.
I think Philippines has a lot of.
I think it's Sandy.
After,
There you go.
I think Philippines has a lot of news, like current events lately. Na we want to bring back people to the old way of how people get news, like in selling papers. Kasi, di ba now, social media na yung take over medium ng news. So, siguro, eye-opener ito sa mga kids sa manunod because this is Disney, so this is for kids talaga. Na from time to time, it's nice to go back to newspaper. And me alone, when I was in grade school, we have this balitaan thing in school. So I've learned that the reading newspaper is really important because there are more important facts being read by the person rather than just being passed by social media. Like, ngayon, di ba yung mga news sa Mindanao, parang iba doon, hindi naman totoo, hindi naman. Pero kasi pag na-print na, ang percentage lang ng maling news is siguro mga 5% lang, di ba? Pero yun na yung relation niya. So, I think educational for the kids to go back to newspaper.
Thank you, Jim. Alex would want to chime in also.
Yeah, just a
Yes,
personal
your
opinion on
answer.
why I think it's relevant. I think as the characters or as Newsies, we can relate to the Filipino audience because I'm sure everyone has experienced not getting what you think you deserve or being cheated out and always wanting to stand up for yourself, wanting to stand up for what you think is right. And we also experienced, I'm sure everyone's experienced jumping or having to jump out of your comfort zones to make any change or any impacts in anything you may be doing, whether it's with your job or it's with your family or it's with a friend that you want to talk to that you can't talk to. So I think one of the biggest lessons you can gain from watching Newsies or you can get inspired by seeing Newsies is basically it just teaches you or you get to see firsthand how these boys, as little as they are in society, stand up for what they believe is right to someone as big as Pulitzer. And I think that's a very valuable lesson that I think anyone from any walk of life can learn.
Well said. Thank you so much, Alex. I hope he answered your question. Yes,
And
Mark.
Jude, right? Now has a
Jude,
question.
yes, Jude, your next question, because since the mic is already with you, might as well.
Hi, good afternoon. Congratulations, everyone. My question is for everyone, especially those who underwent the cheerleading ground. What's the most difficult dance that you encountered?
So far.
Yeah, so far.
So far.
On the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Ballet. Just go for it. Do you want them to expound more on why it is? Guys. Gian. Or Jet. Gian.
Jeff. So, me and dance. This has been we've been fighting for years now. Me and dance. I have the most difficulty with ballet because it goes against just my general life. My posture, my flexibility, my knees, like the hobbies that I have, like which are boxing, cycling, weightlifting. Everything in my life has seemed to set me up to kind of, to not be a natural at ballet. So training ground was really eye-opening to me because I have a duty in training ground to keep up. To keep up and excel. This isn't a musical for people to kind of like straggle through. This is a musical for people to enter and be brilliant. And that's what the training ground was for. So it's not enough that I manage. It's enough that like I have to seep and take from all these experts and all these practitioners, these PBT soloists, and I have to grow. And so it's been a long process of stretching my ankles, stretching the back of my knees, opening my hips up, fixing my posture, all of these things just so I can do basic ballet. Ballet is hard, yeah. It's hard. And I always watched ballet and said, oh, that's beautiful. And I just had no idea what I was talking about. Yeah.
So actually, you know what? Just seeing Jeff pull this off and dance like a beautiful ballerina is worth seeing the show on July 7th. Anyone else wants to answer before we move on to the next question? Ask about it, Joni. Ask about it. Ballet can't be the most difficult for you because you could do it in your sleep. So aside from that, what has been a challenge for you?
Ballet's fine, hip hop is not. Oh, that was horrible. That was embarrassing, but it was really fun. I think the difference, man, is with ballet, you're always so pulled up, and you, I don't know, I've been really difficult, and it gives you a better, like, it makes you appreciate other types of dance forms better, because suddenly, like, it's different when you're watching it, and you're like, wow, that looks really good. But it's different when you do it, because then you realize how hard it actually is. So it makes you appreciate it so much more. And this goes for gymnastics, for dance. You know, being with castmates who are good at everything else, because kami iba-iba kami ng forte. So you see people who are like experts at hip hop, experts at jazz, experts at like tap, and you know, it's amazing, and you want to be like them. So sarap lang to be with castmates.
A very interesting process, right? Because you're like one of the best in ballet, but then all of a sudden you have to like learn how to hip hop.
The worst at hip hop.
You're the worst. Not anymore. Not by the show opens. Okay, moving on to our next question. Could we move the mic over here? Elpida from Theater Fans. We have a lot of press friends with us here today. A lot of familiar faces. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, question.
Into ballet dancers like Ian and Ronaldson, how did it feel to cross over to musical theater? What was your experience like?
Yes. Who would want to answer that? The mic. Where's the mic? You can come over here like a contestant and answer from the room. There you go.
Good afternoon. It's a very interesting run so far. Since I was 13, I'm dancing ballet, and I'm 25 now, so 12 years. Moving to theater, it made me feel uncomfortable at first, but I really wanted to do this because since I was a kid, I'm really interested in singing and also acting. So it's been very challenging and very humbling at the same time.
Right. I think the hardest part for me is singing. Because I've trained my body with ballet and contemporary dance. Like every part of my muscle, except one, my tongue. And so now I'm trying to put it in a position that I can sing and speak with that lyrical accent. And it's really hard for me. So yeah, I think the singing and the speeches are really hard. But it's very challenging, and it's a good challenge for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Yes.
Hi, I'm Trixie from Pinoy Spirit
Hi, Trixie.
And I just want to tell you guys I'm just so excited, especially when I saw how high you jumped.
How high they jump?
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
It will get higher eventually.
Yeah, so yeah, I have two questions.
That's it.
Yes, next question.
My second question is for Meadowlark. Yeah. Far as I remember, aside from the Italian version and I think the off Broadway, there are only like two actresses, now white, who played Meadowlark. So how do you feel that you're maputi and not the usual dark skin, the Meadowlark?
Yes, thank you. I'm very, very happy and honored to have been invited to do the role of Meadowlark. And the creative team are helping me to do my own version, a very own version of Meadowlark. Yes, there are only two other versions, but they did very, very well. But I will try my best to do the best I can to be an effective Meadowlark. So I think it doesn't matter if you're black or white or yellow. It's the role, it's the story that I'm going to tell. Yeah. Thank you.
Actually, there's a real interesting story behind that. When we were in Chicago, when we were talking to Felipe, and he saw it, he encouraged us to not cast it the way everybody else has cast it. He even said in the dance, go to your strength in the Philippines, right? This should be the Philippine version of Newsies, right? So yeah, no, it was a no-brainer when we talked to her and she said she was interested. So as Robbie said earlier, this is going to be very different, but just as good, if not better, than Broadway. Right, Robbie? Better. Now there you go. You heard it from him. Put it on the headlines. He said it's better than Broadway. Joke.
Okay, yes.
Hey.
Hi, Edwin from Interaction. Next question, please.
I'm probably one of the few who actually saw the movie version of Newsies when it was shown here in
Yeah, me
Manila. Maybe part 2, yeah. No, it didn't. Okay. Question to Robbie and to whoever can answer. Are there any major differences between the film version and your production?
Well, for one, the movie version had the following. They're called fancies. And then when they created the book, they tried to flesh out a different angle. And I can see why. For one, you're going to see a different love angle for Jack Kelly as compared to the movie. It's more pronounced in the Broadway version, and that's in the personage of Daniel Chopin for our show. And another interesting story is how all the Newsies come together. It was a little bit different in the movie. That I watched. I was a young kid. I was 11 years old when it came out, and I was a fancy when it came out. So I'm so happy to be doing this. I just didn't watch the Broadway version. But based on the book, I was surprised. When they gave me the script, I was like, it's so different. It's so different. So expect something other than the movie from 1992. But those are the two major changes. And crunchy as well.
Just like to add to PJ, because Anna and I, my wife and I, so we went to Germany also. This is for another Disney engagement, but at the same time, we actually viewed the first screening of Disney's Newsies there. And when I was meeting with Disney there, they specifically reiterated with us, they were concerned that it should be different. We cannot have the same, even the Italian version, there was an Italian version of the Newsies, was actually completely different from that of Broadway. Where in fact, there was one particular instance that there was a bit of a similarity of their choreography with the ones on Broadway, and they had to pay an extra fine for that. That's the reason why I'm also working with Disney, and I'm sure the Globe team with Claire would know this, that everything is approved by them. So the costumes, the color, the set, how to use their logo, and everything has to go through Disney. But again, they always would emphasize that this version cannot be the same as the one on Broadway, and it cannot be the same as the one in Italy. There was also a Korean version, by the way, and the Newsies there looked like they were wearing, they looked like K-pop. They were wearing clothes from Uniqlo. So, but anyway, so we will have definitely, yeah, it looked so modern. We saw that as well. So, by the way, Felipe Gamba, who Joe kept on mentioning, is actually the head of Disney Theatrical. And according to him, the Italian version is the one that's actually his favorite. Okay, but the choreography of the Broadway is still the best. Okay. So anyway, so there you go. So,
the movie. But the main changes are the storyline of Jack Kelly with his love interest. It's no longer the sister of Davy. And then the second is how the Newsies interact eventually. And then speaking of the Broadway version, we are keeping the same book, the same music, the same lyrics by Alan Menken, Feldman, and Firestein. And that's going to be happening, but we're creating our own image in terms of set, choreography, blocking, intention, story. But the Broadway music will be the same, exactly the same.
Okay, so we're about to wrap up our Q&A. Do we have any more last questions?
Just one more.
Yes.
My name is Monch and I'm from a blog called Beautiful Life. And my question, and everyone, just by the sneak preview, you can see that this show is going to be a hit. Okay, so much energy. So anyway, talking about energy, because Pinky said a while ago that she is the past. But after, she's my cousin by the way. She was telling me not to ask.
You're my first cousin.
She was telling me not to ask any questions. But anyway, so this cast is so energetic. You say from the past, but I know you can do some stuff. So are we going to see you do some tumbling, cartwheels, or something? You didn't join the cast?
Definitely not. But I will titillate the men's desires without having to tumble and rumble. I'll do it so, I don't know how, but I'm practicing. But it's an exciting role. It's, you do vaudeville, you have to be vaudeville. You have to be the past and relive the past.
And
Because
you
ibang
are
entertainment na yun.
part of
I'm the theater
generation
owner.
that gave us great entertainment.
Yes, and I'll never forget. My first musical was Katie, and that was vaudeville, right? So
you've been in
yes,
theater how many years?
many years. Maybe 30 years. Like
So you started when you were 3 years old.
Yes, I was 3 years old. Please watch. I'm not in the training ground because I don't do the dances, but seeing them from day one till today, it's amazing. It's
Makes
like
you look
watching
younger.
a bud grow into a beautiful flower. Flower ba? Anyway, these guys are wonderful.
Okay, thank
And
you so
the
much.
best.
And the last question from the press.
This is David from Wazzup.PH. I just have two quick questions.
Sure, go ahead.
First, you've been talking about the differences. I mean, you have to do something different with this. Can I ask what's the same? Like, is it the music and the libretto, or they the same with the other Newsies musical? And number two, can you give just in one sentence, what is the message for Newsies? Just the message for Newsies to the public, for the whole play.
Script and score we can't touch. You can't remove a word. You can't have alternative notes. I mean, you can, but you have to ask permission. And it takes a long time to get permission for that. So we just impose no ad-libs, script, score, that cannot change. So even the number of instrumentalists in the orchestra and the tracks they play cannot be improvised. They have to stick to that. That said, there's actually a challenge because there's some choreography where PJ just thinks instinctively, and based on a particular lyric, he would give this choreography, and I would say, "Oh, they did that on Broadway." But it's not like he copied it. It's what came to him instinctively because of the lyric. So that's another challenge. But for me, I just don't want to be accused of copying. So even if it's a small movement, we really say. So there even came a point where PJ goes, "Did they do this on the Broadway?" Kasi nga, instinctive na eh. But for me, 99.9% is there. I mean, there are some things you can't remove. I mean, they don't naman have the rights to a double pirouette or a straddle jump, those things. So we have those. It's just the way you combine them together and all that. Message in one sentence.
Seize the day.
Seize the day, Carpe.
Seize the day.
Okay, I think we have one last question from the press before we wrap up. Who was raising her hand a while ago? Bea.
Hi, my question. Hi, I'm Bea from Billboard. My question is for PJ. It's interesting this cast. You have a mix of different people. You have varying degrees of experience from different disciplines, as you said earlier. So, was there ever a case when you were making the choreography where you had to, I wouldn't say compromise, but say, reinvent your vision to fit the skill set you're working with?
That's definitely a consideration with the choreography. And even if I know some people can do technically brilliant things, I want the Newsies to be hands-on. I don't want them to be a stick solo here, a stick solo there. So the goal is to really find that fine line where the technique is at the utmost level, everyone can do it. And just to give a rundown, iba-iba yan. There are people from the pep squads of USC, UP, and the dance group squads, the UP theater actors, ballet dancers, and everything. So we had to find a common ground, which is why we did training ground. And in training ground, I plotted choreographic studies. So we did grueling combination, which I tried myself, and I felt like I was dying afterwards. And I used these studies eventually built as the basic blocks for choreography. So it was easier for me because we kept doing it again and again. And I think even for them, when you see them now, compared to day one, our classes are much faster. They can do more things because they've grown. And I'm hoping that the compromise we found is still at a technically brilliant level, and I'm hoping that we can astound you guys with what we do.
Thank you.
Okay,
That was our last
thank you.
question.
Yes, but before we wrap up, I actually have one last question, and it's for Gian. Because Gian has been, as we all know, you haven't set foot on the Philippine theater stage in 3 years. And then all of a sudden, your first production here is this big of a musical, which is Newsies, which is very challenging. So my question to you is, has your training with Disney and Universal helped you? Or because you've been away for a while, is it harder to all of a sudden jump back in? So that's my first question. My second question is, because I kept hearing it from you yesterday at rehearsals, PJ, whenever they were dancing, you always said, childlike, act childlike, not autistic, childlike, stuff like that. And because we are not really, these guys aren't really 14, 15, 16, 17, and that's the roles that they play. Especially you, how hard is it to all of a sudden, what's the process been like from being like 30-ish to all of a sudden act like you're, I don't know, 16 or something?
Ilan mo naman si Gia?
30-ish?
Baka siyang 20.
29. Okay, so...
Well, for your first question, I went back here, of course, because I miss home. And relating it also to, well, first of all, I'm really grateful that because my intention of going back home was actually not to do musicals or not to do this. I was really wanting to just spend time with my son. That was my priority. Because I've been away for so long and I've been working abroad, still performing, because I think that's what really just, that's what I do. That's what I love doing, and I want to keep on performing, and that's what I've been doing. So when I got back here, and actually when I was still in Japan, and I talked to Santi and Robbie, they were talking to me about Newsies. I actually first was surprised because Jack Kelly is a 17-year-old boy. I was like, I thought they were really just kidding and joking about it. So it's more than half my age, the less than half. So
Si Danny Zuko ba ilang taon? 17?
yeah, and my last play 3 years ago was Grease, and I said I don't want to do anything that would be probably that young anymore because it almost gave me a heart attack. So now I'm here giving myself another heart attack.
Which is harder than Grease.
But I'm very grateful, of course, because coming home, I'm home with my son and home with my home theater company, which is Neighbors Theatrical, and I just trust them that they've trusted me with this project. And at the same time, of course, performing abroad in Hong Kong, Disney, and in Japan really is still helping me. But at the same time, the training ground is reminding me that I am not 17 anymore. I'm really catching up with all the young ones here. I'm really trying my best. So, especially that I've missed actually some of the courses of the training ground since I was still abroad. So, yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Also, Isa, it's
Yes.
the first professional roles for Danielle and Luis. How does that
Yes.
feel, guys?
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily my first professional question was my first major project, but because I've been working off and on because I went to a performing arts school back home in the States, and so I've been working on it off and on back home, but never really all in. This is the first time I ever I didn't have an out. So it's kind of, when I came here, it was, I'm half Filipino. And so my grandfather was born here, my grandmother was raised here, so I wanted to see where I came from. That was one of the major reasons why I came here, and see if there was any opportunities while I was here. And then I ended up actually getting an indie film right before the auditions for Newsies. I had no idea that Newsies was even going to be here. And then a friend of mine said, hey, Newsies auditions, submitted, ended up getting it, and I was like incredibly excited because I think you mentioned the fansies, right here. Definite fancy. I grew up with that, and I'm like, when I was a little kid, I'm like, I want to be a Newsie! And now I'm not necessarily a Newsie, but I get to be with him. That's like awesome! Super exciting. But yeah, so the fact that this is my first major project in a sense, the homeland, and it's this project is just so good.
Awesome. With me, I love it. It's amazing. I have some amazing castmates, and Nineworks really takes care of us. Globe really put all the effort into making this a wonderful experience. I really have to thank them, and I have to thank my castmates. They've been so easy to work with, especially since I came in a little later because of a small complication. But yeah, that's it. I love it. I love it.
Okay, so before we move on to having the photo and stuff, my last question goes to Alex. This is your first musical, if I'm not mistaken, and you do TV, VJ particularly. So how different was the experience from doing TV to all of a sudden doing something this tough?
Yeah, so I started out doing a teleseries, and I eventually progressed to hosting, and now I'm a mainstay hosting Mix. And for a while there, I was doing so much hosting, I was going all around the Philippines, and I'd sort of forgotten why I had joined the industry. I sort of fallen out of love with everything that had to do with acting. And then my handler showed me the poster for Newsies, and she said, you know what, you have too much energy. You're a 10 when everyone's like a 7.
You belong on stage,
yeah,
in short.
And I saw the poster of the guy doing like what's it called? Yes, and then his face, and they're singing, and I was like, perfect! Then I can sleep at night afterwards. Wear me out during the day, I can sleep at night. Nineworks was lucky enough, I was lucky enough that Nineworks let me audition even
Nineworks was lucky enough.
I was lucky enough. The Nineworks let me audition. Hey! I was lucky enough to, I was late to audition, so I was lucky enough that Nineworks allowed me to audition. Now here I am with this cast. This great cast that likes to bully. Bully, yeah.
They're you know, being part of the once the bug bites you, it's hard to.
Yeah,
this won't be your last, I'm telling you.
Definitely, for sure. This is the future.
You're the present.
Pretty soon we're all gonna be the past, but this is the future.
Okay, so wrapping up, guys, why don't you invite the press and the audience? One last, in one word, why should they watch the show? No, that's 3 words. One word. One word. I'm gonna concentrate on you guys since you all have the mic. Okay, go quickly. One word.
Go.
Start.
Explosive.
Okay, next. Guys, where's the energy? Fast. One word.
Disney. It's too good for one word, but spectacular.
Danielle.
Inspiration.
Jeff.
Family.
Mel. Behind you.
Friends.
Strike. create headlines. Okay, so now it's
Plus hashtag Elpida Beach Club BGC. Alright everybody, it's photo time. Cast and creative team of Newsies, please come on stage.